Hello, welcome back to Zekism Wrestling. So, Saturday night's main event happened over the weekend, and we crowned a new women's champion in Jade Cargill. She defeated Tiffany Stratton in, I don't want to say suspect circumstances, but, you know, the storyline going into it was that Tiffany was injured. The valiant babyface fighting against the odds to the big bully that was Jade Cargill, who had injured her in the first place. And it played out the way you'd expect. So there wasn't a lot of surprises going into it. I thought, oh, they're clearly going to switch the titles. And so it happened. Jade Cargill was the new women's champion. Congratulations, Jade. Commiserations, Tiffany. So where do we go from here? So I think before we go there, let's talk about Jade Cargill first. Jade Cargill, for me, she's 2 years into her WWE career now. Signed under a wave of publicity when they snared her, they snapped her up from AEW. Coincidentally, we are now looking at 7 champions within WWE are former AEW wrestlers. Is that deliberate? Is that just coincidence? I don't know. The cynic in me wants to say they're doing it deliberately for some reason to sort of poke AEW. I don't know. It just feels coincidentally that. Anyway, regardless of that, I saw the picture over the weekend that they all took, and that's sort of quite funny. So you've got CM Punk, you've got Cody, obviously, you've got Jade, you've got who am I missing? You've got Ricky Saints, in NXT. You've got Mariah May, who's obviously Blake Monroe now, and I might be missing someone there on that list. But yeah, anyway, regardless, we're not talking about them. We are talking about Jade Cargill. I think she signed under a wave of publicity. They snared her from AEW and were giving her opportunities. They obviously want to build a star in Jade Cargill. I think, there was rumours when she signed that she wasn't very good in the ring, or wasn't ring level that they were expecting. And I think that's played out on screen. I think she is limited with her ability in the ring. I think that's being generous. Not saying she's dangerous or anything, so there is positives there to be said, but I think her in-ring ability is limited. She is a strong woman who can lift a lot, and I think she's added some things to her game. She has got better over the last 12 months, if I'm being honest. But now she's the world champion, so I'm sure there's fan discontent. I've seen a few things online, in which case I'm just going to ignore. Look, it's a business. At the end of the day, you have to treat it as such. There is sport and merit, and I think I'm glad they gave her a storyline reason. I'm so glad they turned her heel. My God, does it feel more natural now, more organic, and you can get away with a lot more when you're a heel because you're supposed to get booed. So I think they've done the right thing. Whether or not putting the title on her was the best thing, I'm not sure. Sometimes the belt can make the person, and I think that's probably what they're banking on here. But I would advocate that's only gonna work if they invest the time and energy and creativity. I'm talking to the creative, the writers here, in Jade Cargill as champion. If they present her not just $1 million, because look at her, she does look like $1 million. It's presenting her as a credible threat to all the other wrestlers on the roster. To a certain extent, they've done a good thing in that regard since she signed. I would like to see them go further. I think, for whatever she lacks, I think there are positives to be had as well. I don't know either, but I don't think she sells a ton of merch. Maybe that will change if, again, they start investing the creativity. And this goes across the board, by the way. One of the big problems on SmackDown, certainly, is their creative energy towards the women's division, because there hasn't been much of it. And I think we can dovetail that now into Tiffany. And when we talk about Tiffany and her reign as champion, I don't think there's been anywhere near enough creative energy to the women's division on SmackDown, certainly. But the women's division as a whole in 2025, until Evolution came around, I think there was a definite upturn in terms of creative energy on Raw. SmackDown, I'm yet to see it. In fact, the first creative thing I think they've done, and again, this is generalizing, so it sounds harsher than I mean it to be, but I think until Jade turned heel, that's the first thing I pointed to. Go, oh, they're actually doing something creative here, or putting some creative energy into the booking, the storylines. And I think Tiffany's reign is in general, 10 or 11 months as champion, and really nothing to write home about. The only thing that everyone will remember her for is that Charlotte feud at Mania. And look subsequently what they've done with Charlotte compared with Tiffany. I think Charlotte is actually looking like a better prospect for the belt now than Tiffany. Now she's lost it, which is bizarre. But I think it's been a real positive step taking Charlotte out of that picture, putting her with Alexa, making her, I mean, just presenting on TV as a normal person. It's done her the world of good. And I think now, weirdly, I think fans look back on that feud at Mania where Charlotte was getting pelters for that feud and Tiffany was the fans' favourite. I think now fans look at that in retrospectively and go, not sure who we back now in hindsight, because I don't think it did either woman favours, actually, that feud. And we talked about it on the channel before. It was really bizarre, really clearly personal, because it's come out since that they really were separated. I attended the SmackDown that was in London on, I think it was in March, and they, honestly, even though they were building to a match at Mania, Charlotte and Tiffany were kept away from each other and literally talking about another in third person. So clearly something went down there behind the scenes. That's just my take. You know, it's theorizing, I guess. But that's just my take. Anyway, long story short, I think Charlotte's now in a better place than Tiffany is in terms of, I guess, fan sentiment. And good for her. Like, it's good for her to take a step back from, you don't have to be the world champion to make a lot of money, to get fans' favour. I mean, because now, look, her music hits in the arena and people go nuts. Whereas 6 months ago, people were booing as soon as they heard her music. So I think it's been a good step taking her out of it. Anyway, back to the creative energies of SmackDown. Just invest time and money, time and energy into the stories you're presenting on screen. It's not rocket science. It's the wrestling industry. If I'm a fan and I know what they need, surely they do as well. It's about having the time and effort to be able to make stars on your show, and you only do that by investing the time and energy. Sorry, I know I'm a fan. You can tell me I'm silly, and I'm talking to the bigwigs in WWE here. You can tell me I'm silly as well. That's fine. But I think at the same time, if you treat them like stars, if you invest the time and energy into making fans give a monkeys about the matches they're participating in, that's how you do it, right? Right? Come on, I've been watching wrestling for 30 years nearly. It's not rocket science. Anyway, so yeah, Tiffany, I think her reign suffered as a result of that lack of energy or lack of creativity, I guess, in the writing staff. And hopefully they've turned a corner. I think they have on Raw. I think the Raw Women's Division has a lot more impetus behind it. I'd love them to inject more impetus into it, but nevertheless, I think you've got some stories cooking on Raw. You just need more stories on SmackDown now. And I think this is where we dovetail into what I would do. This is what I would do. So Jade Cargill keeps the title till Mania. I think this week on SmackDown, surely she must be better now. Surely, because it was an injured thumb, right? You have the return of Bianca Belair. And you start the seeds of the story that builds to the one-on-one feud for the title at Mania, Bianca Belair versus Jade Cargill. It's one people have fantasy booked for a while now. That's what you do. You start tentatively, Bianca comes back, and they're sort of cool, because I don't think they weren't feuding when she got injured. So you start tentatively, okay, we're on good terms, but Jade's a heel now. Okay, she's doing some nefarious things, blah, blah, blah. Carry on, build the tension. Have Jade just absolutely lose it and pummel Bianca at some point. Have her off TV for a few weeks, then she comes back. You build the feud to Mania. Job done. Don't even need her to win the Royal Rumble to do it. You don't even need her to win Elimination Chamber, in my opinion. You just do it. You spin it off, and it's a storyline reason or rationale. You go from there. What I would do with Tiffany now, I think you've got the biggest hurdle now, because I think people were getting a bit lethargic. Maybe it was just me. She was getting good reactions in the arena, but I think online sentiment is like, what was this title reign about? I guess it was about building Tiffany. She does feel like a credible champion off the back of it. So there's not all doom and gloom. It's not all lens of lost sort of thing, or whatever the phrase is. But I would have Tiffany drop down slightly and compete for the United States title belt, or go and spin it off into a feud with Julia. And I'll do that for a number of reasons. One, I don't think they've invested any creative energy in Julia, apart from give her a manager in Kiana James. So more energy needed for Julia, who is a brilliant wrestler, brilliant technical wrestler as well. So it's not eye-catching. So you need to give her something more. Obviously, English isn't her first language, so that's probably why they gave her Kiana James. But at the same time, you need more than that. You need to, you want to get Julia to the place where Io is and the place where Asuka is. Well, how do you do that? You invest time and energy into making her have a character on screen. The way you do that, you give her storylines to flesh out that character. I can't believe I'm saying. Sure, everyone knows this. Sorry, I know I'm not trying to be insulting or detrimental, but that's where you do it. And so I would have a spin off into a feud with Julia. One, it promotes that title belt as well, because it's getting into a more high profile feud. Keyword being feud. You have an instigating event between Tiffany and Julia, not just that Tiffany decides she wants to go for that belt. You have an inciting incident, some clash of some sort backstage or something, and that spins off into a feud, and then it turns into a blood feud. You've got that. You're promoting Julia, you're promoting Tiffany again, and you're promoting that belt. That's what I would do. I think all three factors that I just laid out would benefit as a result of that feud. And again, it goes into SmackDown Women's Division having some creative energy behind it. There you go. That's what I would do. What do you think? Am I on to hide into nothing? Am I talking into the wind? Or do I have a point? Or do you disagree with me? That's all good. Please leave a comment in the comment section below. I'd love to have a chat with people and have discourse and stuff, so that's all good. Please leave a like and subscribe on the channel, and I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Bye bye.